On June 13, 2012, David J. Roth tweeted, "P.F. Chang's waiter recites specials. Stephen A. Smith acts surprised. To me, that's preposterous. Crab Rangoon, things of that nature." This is the Museum of Twitter, the show where we talk about the most important tweets in the history of Twitter.com. And I'm saying this up top again because I want to make sure people hear it. I'm doing a fundraiser for the Trevor Project where I'm having a live stream tomorrow on Saturday where I'm going to be doing giveaways, having a lot of guests on. So please donate to the Trevor Project and send a receipt to museumoftwitter@gmail.com to be entered to win giveaways like signed books, signed copies of tweets, fun stuff like that. I know, you're thinking that this should be on Sports Tweet Saturday, but now that Stephen A. Smith is going to run for president as a Democrat, apparently, I think I can do it any day of the week. Obviously, I'm being facetious. This whole thing is just a media thing that they're having fun with, and I really don't think anyone should get that worked up about someone saying they might run for president in 4 years. But I do think that this is putting Stephen A. Smith in front of a lot of people who do not watch sports, and I think that he's a fascinating figure, and so I want to talk about him. I would posit that there are 3 canonical Stephen A. Smith tweets. One of them was tweeted by him, and it's this one, the "Take a Look, Y'all." I did this one in entry 25. You can go and watch that. And then there are 2 canonical tweets about him, and this is one of them. So who is Stephen A. Smith? If you're not a sports fan, or if you're not American, you have no idea who he is. He is a mainstay on ESPN, and he is most known for being on a show called First Take, which is basically just an argument in a TV show. It is ludicrous to watch. It is the most contrived arguments. It's like, who's better, LeBron or Michael Jordan, every day of the week. And people get worked up all the time on it, even though it's the silliest sports conversations. But Stephen A. is the master at this. He's super animated. He's super funny, both intentionally and unintentionally. I mean, the best distillation I've ever heard of him, and this is not mine, and I can't find an original source, is that he's been described as Wendy Williams for straight guys. And David J. Roth, who made this tweet, is a writer who's been in a bunch of different places, but he's currently at Defector, and I would say that he is among the top 5 best writers alive at describing how terrible this moment in the world is. Specifically, he's one of the few people who can make sense of the wet morass that is Donald Trump's brain, but he also writes about sports, and this was no doubt a joke he came up with when he was watching mind-numbing hours of sports TV. On the 5-year anniversary of this tweet, Dennis Young wrote an article about it for The All, and I'm going to be citing that a lot because he got some really good quotes about it. Specifically, he nailed down what's funny about it, especially if you're someone who is familiar with Stephen A. Smith. To put it simply, the funny thing is imagining Stephen A. Smith doing his contrived, surprised, yelly stuff about an item on a Chinese food menu. An anonymous ESPN employee said, "The idea of him reacting to a random obscure menu item like that is the perfect sitcom version of him making his way in a world where everything is so much less important than how he talks about it." Because that really is both his superpower and the thing that makes him annoying if you find him annoying. Like, the discussion topic can be, should Russell Westbrook come off the bench? And he'll be like, "This is preposterous! Russell Westbrook, a former MVP, coming off the bench? Are you serious?" And it's like, I don't actually think he's that worked up about it, but he can get to a pitch where everything is super worked up, where that's his tone all the time. It's also funny, as sports writer Spencer Hall points out, because you can hear Smith, that second syllable is puh, and he hits it with a super hard plosive. Blowing a $6 word like preposterous on a menu item is also inherently funny, as is getting mad at the P.F. Chang's menu. But Stephen A. is a broken robot, and everything is on his personal hot take menu. Roth was actually quoted in the article himself, and he said about the phrase "things of that nature" that it's this sort of grandiose, puffy way of getting yourself from the sentence that you're in to the sentence that you don't know what you're going to say yet. And both the article's writer and Roth do admit that this is a very Trumpian thing to do. And just a few days ago, Dan Lefebvre said on Twitter, "I know that Stephen A. could be president because things of that nature feel spiritually connected to looking at that very strongly." They both are nonsense phrases that you say at the end of a sentence to make it sound more important and to buy yourself time. And the thing that's hard to make clear to anyone who is not really familiar with Stephen A.'s work on sports TV is that every single person who is immediately read this tweet in his voice. Like, to me, that's preposterous. Crab Rangoon, things of that nature, just feels like a thing he might say. Like, I don't know if he'd be talking about crab rangoons, but preposterous and things of that nature, these are all stock phrases he says. And it seems like he is incapable of speaking in any other sort of way, which can make him entertaining when he's talking about silly stuff. Like recently on his own show, he was asked a question about Lightning McQueen winning Piston Cups in the Cars universe, and that was very funny because he talked about it in his heightened, serious tone. But it's also going to be annoying if it's like, okay, I know you don't actually care about the Indiana Pacers starting lineup that much. Just kidding, they wouldn't talk about the Indiana Pacers on ESPN. So this tweet is referenced a lot in reference to Stephen A., in reference to crab rangoons. By the way, if you don't know, crab rangoons are an Americanized Chinese restaurant dish, which is basically like a crab puff. It's crab and cream cheese stuffed inside of a pastry. Like, I'll be honest with you, back when I could eat them before my celiac diagnosis, I did quite enjoy them, even though they are on paper gross. And probably an affront to actual Chinese food, crabs, and the city formerly known as Rangoon. But yeah, people like Vincent LaGuardia Gambini Esquire quote the tweet when they're showing a photo of crab rangoons. The great Patrick Monahan tweeted crab rangoon grilled cheese, things of that nature, when he got a crab rangoon grilled cheese, which sounds unbelievable, but it's mostly used in reference to Stephen A. Like in 2015, David Roth said that he can always tell when Stephen A. Smith says something stupid because the tweets are just getting retweeted again. Sometimes it's directly quoted, like when Stephen A. shared the screenshot of him arguing with Sean Hannity, and Sean Hannity looked like he was going crazy, and Stephen A. was just like this. Matt D said, that's preposterous, crab Rangoon, things of that nature. But oftentimes the punchline is changed to meet whatever context Stephen A.'s in. Like Trill Ballins tweeted the screenshot of Stephen A. Smith arguing with Ted Nugent and said, to me, that's preposterous. Cat scratch fever, things of that nature. That was so hard to say for some reason. When Nick saw a TV of Stephen A. Smith right next to a TV of James Comey testifying in front of Congress, he tweeted, quite frankly, I find the entire thing preposterous. Leaked memos, Russian interference, things of that nature. When Stephen A. Smith posted a photo of him photoshopped onto Lando Calrissian's face, Jake Whitaker tweeted, to me, that's preposterous. Midichlorians, things of that nature. And oftentimes it's referenced when Stephen A. is not even involved. When Kamala Harris took over Joe Biden's campaign, Patrick Fenelon tweeted, Stephen A. Smith voice, to me, that's preposterous. Existing in a context, coconut trees, things of that nature. Sickos Committee tweeted, candy store cashier, recite specials. Stephen A. Smith, ass surprised. To me, that's preposterous. Everlasting gobstoppers, things of that nature. This is another example of plosives being funny to say in the Stephen A. Smith voice, gobstoppers. I really could go on forever. In case you're wondering if Stephen A's ever seen the tweet, in 2023, Awful Announcing wrote an article about how Stephen A. Smith denied having ever seen the tweet in an interview in 2023, but they also found an interview from 2018 where he saw the tweet and commented on it, so who knows. And in classic Stephen A. Smith fashion, when they told him, hey man, you talked about this in 2018, he said, you'd have to prove it to me because I'd be inclined to tell you that's a fabricated story. Like, the fact that he has to word it that way is so quintessentially Stephen A. I think that this all kind of has to do with why people are interested in him as a political figure. Because I think that what a lot of people are searching for on the left of center, or at least people who are opposed to Donald Trump and his ilk, are someone who's willing to fight and willing to make arguments that are cogent to regular people, that regular people, particularly young men, will be susceptible to. And like it or not, I think one of Trump's superpowers is that he has a distinctive way of speaking, that people remember what he says, people like to listen to him speak, they find it entertaining. Like, I might not feel that way, but clearly the people who love him find it entertaining to listen to him speak. We can't deny that. And I can't deny that on the whole, it is interesting to listen to Stephen A. Smith speak. He has a very interesting and deliberate way of speaking. He is willing to get excited about issues no matter what, and that is the thing I think a lot of people are searching for in these trying times. And so I think the fact that Stephen A's cadences and rhythms are so easy to mock is a feature and not a bug. Now, do I think he should actually be president? No, I don't. He has had a lot of problematic opinions, and I don't say problematic in I go to a liberal arts college sort of way. I mean, like, he's said some bad stuff about female athletes and just been sort of aggressive on issues I care about. And also there's this photo, which I think should give every single person who would consider voting for him on the Democratic Party line pause. If you don't know who that guy is in the photo with him, I would just Google Sheriff David Clark, and you'll quickly realize why I think that anyone who willingly took a photo with him should not be elected to any office ever. But don't get me wrong, I'm still going to watch his clips when he talks about Lightning McQueen. That's great. Follow me for a new tweet every day. Consider subscribing at patreon.com/museum of Twitter. And like I mentioned up top, I'm doing this fundraising live stream tomorrow from 8 a.m. Eastern to 2 a.m. Eastern the next day. I'm trying to raise a couple $1,000s, so please, if you have $5, $10, throw it the Trevor Project's way and send me the receipt at museumofTwitter@gmail.com.